Hey, remember when you could play as Fire Mario in Smash? How about Black Yoshi, remember him? Shiny Mewtwo? Well, it sure seems like a while ago, doesn't it? Because these costumes, like many others, were removed from Smash Ultimate for one reason or another. I'm gonna explain why every single one was rejected in this video, from the good, to the bad, to the downright criminal removals. Some of these stories are gonna get pretty wild. Let's go character by character, starting with Mario. Being the series mascot, Mario was certainly under the spotlight when it comes to pretty much everything, and in terms of his alternate costumes, that's no different. There have been quite a few rejected over the years, 3 in fact. Let's start with this blue and red one, which originated in Smash 64. This has had many inspirations theorized by the fanbase, from being based on Balloon Fighter, to Mario's look in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and similar cartoons from that time. Man, remember those? But this all may be overthinking it. It really just seems like a color reversal of his standard outfit, which would make sense considering that this game debuted on the N64 after all. And it's likely due to this lack of inspiration that it was eventually rejected in Smash 4, being replaced with this light blue and pink outfit. This one appears to be based on Mario's artwork in the Japanese box art for Mario Bros. I like this change because not only do I think it just looks better overall, but this inspiration is a nice classic to have included as a nice change of pace. But the rejected Mario alts don't stop here. Next up we have Fire Mario, one of the most heavily criticized decisions in this vein for Smash Ultimate. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here. This one was first introduced to the selection back in Brawl, and it was probably one of the most obvious decisions in this vein ever. Mario uses fireballs in his moveset, so it makes sense to give him this look, right? But in Smash Ultimate, it definitely wasn't deemed as necessary, as it was replaced with Wedding Mario from Super Mario Odyssey, which was pretty surprising to me. I would have much preferred a move in Mario's moveset based on Odyssey, like Cappy, as I mentioned in a previous video, but I wouldn't have been completely opposed to a costume if it wasn't for it replacing one of the coolest looks in the entire game. There's probably 2 reasons for this. The first being the similar white colorations between both of them, and they likely didn't want to if they desperately wanted to have Wedding Mario in the game, but the second reason could be that Mario doesn't always need the Fire Flower to shoot fireballs, such as in Mario RPG for example. Maybe they felt that having this costume was unnecessary. I'd really like to see this one return sometime though. These reasons don't seem to fully justify it to me. The alt just looks so cool. And next up we have another really popular alt that got rejected, this being his Wario costume. This was the yellow and purple one, actually included all the way back in Smash 64. It had a good run too, appearing in every single subsequent Smash Bros. Game until Ultimate came around. Mario's Wario look was replaced with a Mario Maker costume. Like the previous Fire Mario alt, it was likely cut due to the similar colorations between the two, and they didn't want to have multiple yellow outfits, so Wario just has to go to make space for this new one. Again, I don't really like this decision. It's much less egregious compared to the Fire Mario cut, as Mario Maker I feel is much more important to reference compared to the wedding outfit. It's situations like these that really made me feel like we need more alts for every character, which is why I started the whole series to begin with. It would just solve all of these problems. I hope we see it again one day. Hey, at least we still have the Waluigi outfit though. But before we move on to the next character, there is one more additional Mario costume that I want to talk about. This being the brown outfit from the original Super Mario Bros. This one I would classify as a heavily modified costume, but definitely not a full-on scrapped one, and I'll explain why. This was originally based on the character Foreman Spike from Wrecking Crew. The coloration is similar, but over the years the brown has slowly become more and more black, to the point now where this costume looks like it has a completely different unique origin. Some point to the aesthetic of Super Mario Land as inspiration for this, and maybe it is now, but the reality is this was originally based on Foreman Spike and likely still is, but it's just evolved into having a much nicer look overall, and it's one of my favorites for the character because of that. Now Donkey Kong would be our next character, but what's cool about him is that he doesn't really have any rejected alts. He only has some slight modifications that are being done ever since the original. The blue is made a slow transition into purple, the gray slowly transitioned into black, and the green has gone through a variety of shades from light to dark. Overall, no rejected ones though. Let's move on to Link, one of the most interesting cases in this vein in Smash Bros. Because of the significant design change that they gave to him with the Champion's tunic from Breath of the Wild for Smash Ultimate. But did you know there was actually a rejected costume before this? Yeah, this actually occurred in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where the original Dark outfit for Link included in Melee was scrapped in favor of Dark Link from Twilight Princess. Now this one is a change that I'm sure pretty much everyone can get behind. The main reason that this happened at the time was to promote a much newer Zelda game, and I mean, come on, it just looks so much cooler. It's a great standout alt from the rest, but when it comes to rejected costumes, we're definitely not done yet. No alts get removed from Brawl to Smash 4, but one of the new ones introduced for that game didn't last long. Let's start with this purple one, based on Link's appearance in the Four Swords games, which got cut, likely being replaced with the dark blue Royal Guard uniform from Breath of the Wild. Since Toon Link has the purple outfit and it's much more fitting on him instead, I don't mind this as much, and it looks really nice too. It was obviously done to reference to the newer Zelda game. And while Dedede Link made it into Ultimate, albeit modified, the yellow alt, which had been around since Brawl, unfortunately did not. This one had a very niche inspiration from using the Great Fairy Tears in Twilight Princess, so it's not surprising why they got rid of it. There was no direct replacement as there's no similar colored outfit in Ultimate, but it likely just made space for the green Twilight Princess alt that ended up being included in the game. And the last of the rejected costumes is this blue one, which was around all the way back since Smash 64. It was based on the Zora tunic from Ocarina of Time, and how we have a much more fitting costume with the light blue one from Breath of the Wild. I don't think there's going to be many that complain about this change. I feel it was overall a good decision. But before we fully move on, I do have a couple of honorable mentions here. The first of which goes to the original colors that were just carried over in the Breath of the Wild style for Smash Ultimate. While technically changing inspirations, they're very similar aesthetically, and the new inspirations might still be a stretch. The main one here is the white alt from the original Smash Brothers changing to Link's Skyward Sword outfit in Smash 4. I don't count it as fully rejected, as I feel it's more of a morph of an inspiration. In Smash 4, they don't even go full on Skyward Sword with it yet, and there's still some notable differences. So I lean a lot more on the modification side of things here. Overall, we could all agree that there have been a lot of costume changes to this guy over the years though, many for the better. Next up we have Samus, and for her there's actually only one rejected costume, this being the Dark Samus outfit from Smash 4. This one isn't too surprising, as Dark Samus was included as a full-on Echo Fighter in Smash Ultimate, so this wasn't really necessary anymore. It was replaced with this really cool black outfit with a yellow visor based on Canyon from Metroid Prime Hunters. All the others remain pretty much identical, which is quite interesting. And before we move on to Yoshi, who has one of the most iconic rejected outfits of all time, I just want to point out that a large portion of my viewers aren't actually subscribed. If you're new here and enjoying the content, why not subscribe, right? It's free, and you could always change your mind later. Alright, back to the characters. Moving on to a character who was one of only 2 to have 6 alternate costumes back in Smash 4, with this being Yoshi. You'll find out who the other one is in a minute. But has starting out with many more led to more rejected costumes over the years? Actually, not really. Except for one that's pissed a lot of people off. His set of 6 from the original have actually survived all the way until today in Smash Ultimate. It's in Smash 4 when things changed up when they added Purple Yoshi and Black Yoshi. 2 of my favorite looks, as both are really cool, but unfortunately both didn't make it into Smash Ultimate. Black Yoshi didn't get into Ultimate, and it got replaced with a textured Yoshi based on his appearance in Crafted World. I really don't like this at all. You took a fan favorite ult and replaced it for a promotion, and not even a good one at that. It feels so forced and stands out like a sore thumb amongst all the others. A stage would have been a fine promotion, but they chose to do this instead. Why? I think it was just the choice to go in Nintendo's eyes if there had to be one, as it doesn't appear too often throughout the series. I definitely disagree with the decision though. An ult doesn't need a significant inspiration to be justified and loved by fans, and this one definitely was. I'd love to see it brought back in the future. Let's move on to the totally objectively best choice to be the starting character in World of Light that totally wasn't put in that role for any other biased reason. Kirby. Yeah, this guy actually never got any of his costumes cut over the years. Pretty interesting. Yeah, there have been some minor alterations here and there, but overall status quo, which some would say is good because their favorite color hasn't been cut, but I'm sure there's many who would like more new ones to be added as well. Next up we have Fox, and there's a similar situation with only one being a pretty big change. This being the modification of this light blue and purple alt from the original to be based on Wolf's look, which happened in Smash 4. Now, there was no real inspiration for the first one anyway, so it makes sense as to why they just let it go. And for Smash 4 in particular, I guess they were cutting Wolf from this game, so might as well include him in some way, right? Moving on to Pikachu, who surprisingly has quite a few rejected and modified costumes. You may not think of him at first glance, I certainly didn't, but once I investigated for this video, there were 4 more than I was expecting. To chronicle these, we've got to start at the very beginning, where in Smash 64, Pikachu just got different colored hats for alts. These are kind of based on Pokemon Stadium, but in my honest opinion, I just feel that Pokemon didn't want much modification to their mascot, and sort of just told Sakurai, put something on his head instead of a major color change. That's the vibe I get off of these anyways. In Melee, they cut the red and green hat alts and replaced them with new ones. The red one gets a hat based on Red, the main protagonist of the Kanto games, and has actually played a big role at the end of Gen 2, which was relatively new at the time of Melee's release. I like this change, but the green one, I mean, he just gets a top hat. What is this even based on? Seems like an original change, which I guess is good for variety. I don't know, it's still kind of bad though. Let's move on to Brawl, where this gets cut and replaced with the headband of Brendan from Gen 3, an ult that's still used to this day. A good change, but I mean, I guess anything that actually had an inspiration would be considered an upgrade in this regard. A more notable change here is that the iconic blue party hat actually got cut here. Many tend to forget about this since it's so synonymous with the character's appearance in Smash Brothers, but yeah, it was actually replaced with the swimmer's goggles in Brawl. It's not really apparent why it was rejected. I guess they must have thought that the swimmer trainer was more relevant at the time, coming off of a water-filled generation in Gen 3? Maybe? The party hat would get brought back for Smash 4 and Ultimate though. It certainly had the last laugh, as the swimmer's goggles would get cut for Ultimate. Pichu now has this outfit, so it's good that it's still getting used at least, and it seems to have been rejected on Pikachu specifically to make space for the hat based on Celine's appearance in Sun and Moon, a more modern reference. In Smash 4, we got a Pikachu wearing a choice band included, but this was short-lived, as for Smash Ultimate they included the iconic Pikachu Libre instead. This was included in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as a form of cosplay Pikachu, but it's much more synonymous with Pokémon Tournaments, an actual Pokemon fighting game. This is a fantastic reference, especially in a fighting game like Smash Brothers. A party game, sorry about that, and I'm so glad that it got in. That about does it for Pikachu though, certainly a storied history in the alts department. Now Luigi would be our next character, but he actually doesn't have any scrapped costumes, which is pretty interesting. Now there was one notable modification to the fire outfit, is back in Smash 64 and Melee, his skin tone was changed for this alt, and the circle with the L changed color as well, but that's literally it. Ness has no rejected costumes either, but at least in this situation it makes more sense since he hasn't been the star of any game since Smash 64, whereas Luigi's had several new possible costume ideas. Next up we have a big fan favorite being Captain Falcon, and maybe a Sakurai favorite as well since he was the only character other than Yoshi to get 6 alts in Smash 64, but did he keep all of them? Yep, and he's had no rejected since then. Moving on. But when we get to our next character, Jigglypuff, there were actually quite a few that got rejected, unlike those previous characters. First of all 3 of Puff's alternate looks in Smash 64 have gotten rejected at some point or another. Yes, all 3. Let's start with the green one, which has never been seen outside of the original game. It was replaced with the green headband alt after this in Melee. The blue one actually made it into Melee, but was cut for Brawl when the straw hat was included with some blue around it. The red one actually has an interesting story. It was cut immediately after Smash 64 like the green one and was replaced with this red flower alt in Melee, but unlike many other rejected alts, this one actually came back. Yep, in Smash 4, a dark red bow was included as a new alt for Jigglypuff, which is definitely an homage to the original. You may be wondering though, why was this costume brought back anyways? Well, this is likely due to the fairy type being included in Pokemon X and Y, which were relatively new at the time of Smash 4's release, and the fairy tale Pokemon trainers wore pink bows. Since Puff got the fairy typing, it seemed like a cool idea to reference these trainers, which primarily use fairy type Pokemon, while also calling back to an original at the same time. This isn't even it for the rejected alternate costumes for her though. Remember that green headband alt? Well god, I hope you do because I just mentioned it. But yeah, it didn't make it past Melee. It got replaced with a green hat that Kirby wears when he uses the sleep ability. And there's actually one more, which is the crown alt that was only included in Melee. This seems to be based on Peach's crown and seems to be replaced with the Pokemon nurse hat in future games. There seems to be a commonality for why all these alts were replaced, and it just seems to be that they didn't have many ideas back in the day, and over the years more material has come out that they thought was fitting for the character. It's Melee time, and its first character Peach does have a rejected alt, a very recent one at that, being the Daisy alt from Smash 4 going into Ultimate. This was rejected due to Daisy getting into the roster as a playable Echo Fighter, so like Dark Samus's inclusion from earlier, it just wasn't seen as necessary. It got replaced with her golden outfit from Super Mario Party, a more modern reference. Moving on to Bowser, who's had quite a few alt changes over the years, but in a different way to the previous characters. Let me explain. Starting out in the beginning, Bowser had 3 unique costumes in Melee, and you could make an argument that all of them have been rejected in some form or another. Let's start with the black and brown one here, which for Brawl was directly carried over, and a new lighter brown one was introduced as well. However, this would be the last time that we'd see both of these in their original formats, as for Smash 4 they were effectively combined, and it's been that way ever since. The possible explanation that I see for this is that they didn't feel the need to have 2 similar colorations which both didn't have a significant inspiration behind them. Might as well make space for something else, right? Back to Melee, and we see this green one with a blue shell and yellow hair, which like the previous one was carried over into Brawl, but unlike the black alt, the opposing thing happened. By this time Smash 4 rolled around, and instead of getting combined with another palette swap, this got effectively split in 2. We have the fully green one based on Bowser's sprite in Super Mario World, and the blue one based on the imposter Bowser in World 8 of Super Mario Bros. I guess they wanted more color variety and to make the inspirations more pronounced with this decision, and the final alt in Melee had a similar treatment as well. The orange and red one with yellow hair has changed quite a bit for Brawl, but it seems to have served the same inspiration. It was in Smash 4 when it seemed to split off into a yellow costume based on Ludwig's sprite from Super Mario World, and a red one based on a coloration of his in Mario Golf. Again, this may have been to just get more well-defined inspirations in there, but overall it's been a strange path over the years to say the least. I guess we could say that 2 to 3 rejected alts have happened here. Moving on to the next character, or should I say duality of characters, being Nana and Popo, the Ice Climbers. These guys actually do have a rejected alt, being this light blue and orange one from Melee. Orange seemed to be an original color, although the light blue is likely based on the color change when Popo loses a life in the game. This was completely scrapped for Brawl, I suppose to make room for the others that they wanted to put in, but a similar form to Bowser, this look was kinda brought back in Smash Ultimate, but it was split in 2. There's this light blue alt that resembles the look from Melee, and there's also this nice looking orange and purple outfit with the orange obviously coming back from this one, since as we've examined in the Melee edition of the Alt series, most of these guys' costumes seem to be completely original to Smash. There probably wasn't too much thought put into these decisions other than, oh, I prefer this color over this one. There is an honorable mention for the character though, as over the years this red and white alt has slowly made a gradual transition to being red and gray. But because it was pretty gradual like the Mario form and Spike one from earlier, I don't consider it a full-on rejection. I find it worth pointing out though. Moving on to Sheik, a character who's had an interesting situation with alts because in Melee and Brawl they were sorta designed to complement Zelda's, and therefore it's no coincidence that when splitting them up in Smash 4, things started to change. There were really no remarkable changes from Melee to Brawl outside of Sheik getting red in the scarf of her blue ult to build up a resemblance to Tetra, which was taken to a whole other level in Smash 4. Continuing on with the trend of these Melee characters, seemingly this blue ult was kinda split in two for Smash 4. The blue mainly served as a reference to Sheik's original appearance in Ocarina of Time, and the red scarf would go on to fully embrace the Tetra inspiration along with Impa to an extent. This makes sense for both of these alts, as instead of being a mishmash of a bunch of stuff, they decided to simplify it, and I find that the designs look better for it. Outside of this, I wouldn't really say that any alt got rejected per se. However, I should point out that there has been a slow transition bringing what was once a very light pink alt to full on purple modernly. Again, the changes happen slowly in increments, and it never had a notable change. The inspiration still seems to be based on Zelda's dress too. And next up, you guessed it, we're talking about Zelda. She's had a few modifications and really only one rejected alt, this being her white one from Melee. Now this one was based on her field sprite from A Link to the Past, and it was mainly done to fit her Twilight Princess costume into the selection for Brawl since that game was new at the time. But luckily for fans of this one, it was quickly brought back in Smash 4 and still remains to this day. There have been some modifications over the years as well with the dresses and hair, but primarily the colors of the outfits have stayed the same, and I don't think any of her inspirations have completely changed. The focus shifted in Ultimate to base Zelda's standard design off of A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, but all the inspirations have never changed for the other alts, and Twilight Princess's color scheme is still present. When it comes to Dr. Mario, none of his core alts have been removed, with only a couple slight changes to the gloves taking place over the years. Pichu, on the other hand, has had some modifications which likely would have been increased if he was in more than just 2 Smash games. But let's focus on the ones that were scrapped. Back in Melee, all of Pichu's ults had these scarves, and in Ultimate, none of them do anymore. Does that mean all of them were rejected? Maybe, but I'd play it safe and say just modifications for now, because the red one has gotten carried over with the ribbon on his ear, and the goggles one has been carried over, again with just the goggles though. This contrasts with the green one, which has been completely scrapped with no reference to it remaining. This one originally had a backpack to reference either Ness's or maybe the Pokemon trainers, so yeah, fairly weak from that standpoint. And it also didn't look great. Pretty easy to tell why this one was removed. Falco hasn't had any scrapped alts, although some of his color schemes have become more pronounced over the years, with the color of his jacket seeping into his face in some cases. Same for Marth, no real rejected alts. Now Young Link is an interesting case where we could consider it a rejected alt since the inspiration is completely different, but there are similarities. Let me explain. In Melee, he had 5 costumes, with one of these being the black tunic, which you could obtain through hacking in Ocarina of Time. Now it's kind of fitting as to why Nintendo wouldn't want to reference something like that, so it was changed in Smash Ultimate when the character made his return. This alt is still black, but just not his tunic, as now he's completely based on Dark Link. This is a very similar change that happened to regular Link as well. This is a really cool change overall, and I feel it's a reference Nintendo would much rather have in the game. Moving on to Ganondorf, a character who has had an interesting story with alts over the years, since his Smash appearance has changed 3 times. In Melee, it was mainly based on his Ocarina of Time outfit, which changed to Twilight Princess and Brawl because of the game being newer at the time, but in Ultimate it changed back to the original style, which I much preferred. There is one rejected alt specifically though, with this being the blue one from Melee. When we transition into Brawl, this one isn't present and it's replaced with this white alt that's sort of meant to reference the Dark Link look in the opposing way. The blue one was eventually brought back though, with more spaces for costumes being present. Moving on to Mewtwo, where it is arguable, but I would say that there's a rejected alternate costume here, being his green one from Melee. This costume was sort of split in 2 in Smash 4 when the character was brought back after ridiculously being cut from Brawl. The original was based on Mewtwo's shiny coloration, and the 2 that it changed into sort of are as well. The yellower one more closely resembles its original shiny color in gold and silver, and the cyan one is kinda like its modern shiny, but it doesn't fit as much as the original did. I understand what they were going for here to get 2 references in for the 2 different types of shinies that Mewtwo's had over the years, but it doesn't completely pan out, and I feel they were better off with the original overall. Finishing off Melee, Roy and Mr. Game & Watch don't have any rejected alts between them. When it comes to Meta Knight, there was a notable modification to his purple alt with red eyes, and it got a a lot pinker in Smash Ultimate, and a unique design is now on the mask, but I don't know if this counts as it being completely rejected. Next up we have Pit, who actually does have a couple of rejected outfits. In Smash 4 he was given 2 new outfits, being light blue and pink respectively, and they were both sort of merged for Smash Ultimate, with the pink of one's body and the purple of the other's wings being included. Ultimately it was done to make room for the blonde hair doll, which is based on a conventional angel's depiction in the Bible, which does make sense considering that Pit is pretty much an angel. And those previous 2 really didn't have the largest inspirations behind them either. Overall I really like this decision, mainly just because I prefer the merged version anyways. Zerosu's Samus, our next character today, also has a rejected costume, being this nice looking pinkish purple one from Brawl. This is likely based on the coloration of the Justin Bailey suit from Metroid, which is pretty memorable, and I'm pretty surprised that they cut it because of that. Since there were red accents on her arms, I assume this was replaced with a red outfit which resembles her look at the end of Metroid. And while it looks alright, I really don't like the decision to cut out the original for it. Our next character is Wario, who has actually had a ton of rejected costumes for one reason in particular. For those of you who started with the series in Smash 4 or Ultimate, you may not remember this, but back in Brawl, Wario had 12 alternate costumes. Yes, 12. For some reason they decided to dedicate 6 to his biker type and 6 to his standard outfit, giving him even more than he's got today. So while there weren't any real changes going from Smash 4 to Ultimate, there were obviously many taken away from him in Brawl, so let's examine some of the reasons why. Yellow and green costumes up first were likely combined into one outfit for Smash 4, pretty good idea to save space. This cool looking red, black, and white outfit is likely just a reversal of the red one that got carried over, so probably not entirely necessary even though it looks cool. The blue one here resembles the stereotypical motorcycle riding gear, another nice idea, but since it doesn't reference series material, that's probably why it wasn't a priority to keep. When we get to the standard Wario outfits, things get even more interesting, as there appears to be an alt based on Form and Spike with this beige and brown coloration. Being a rival of Mario and Wrecking Crew, just like how Wario served in that role for many years, the reference makes sense, no doubt in that. But the combination of Mario having the reference already, along with the lack of space, probably just did this one in. And last up we have a white alt with navy overalls, which bears a slight resemblance to his in-game sprite from Wario Land on the Game Boy, which was grayscale, but it honestly just gives me more filler alt vibes than anything just to get the number up. Understandable why this one was cut, as the look itself isn't cool enough to force it to stay either. And while Snake has kept all of his costumes, that isn't exactly the same for Ike, for a variety of reasons. First things first, Ike's design had a big overhaul going from Brawl into Smash 4. This is because of a desire to reference Radiant Dawn, the newer entry at the time of Smash 4's release, whereas the original inclusion of Ike referenced Path of Radiance. This design change in and of itself led to Smash Ultimate including both types as a reference to the Everyone Is Here promotion which was going on, so in some ways you could consider just generally 2 of the Brawl designs and 4 of the Smash 4 designs getting cut here, but I won't fully count that. We're gonna go off of a more costume inspiration basis here, and even while doing that, there's still some. The first cut happened while going from Brawl into Smash 4, with this being the removal of the standard Path of Radiance coloration for Ike. Again, this is probably just due to the shift of general inspirations for the character. This one was brought back for Ultimate though, however one of his new additions for Smash 4 was not, with this being his white outfit. This one would be replaced with a purple alt representing Maya. Reference to Crown definitely wasn't as needed since the guy's now in the roster as well. Let's move on to Pokemon Trainer, one who has a very interesting story in Smash Bros. History. We're going to touch on each of these characters individually since it makes things simpler, starting with the trainer himself. And I say him for a reason, because when the character debuted in Brawl, there was no female version of the trainer included at all. So while the white and green alt inspirations were carried over for the character's return in Ultimate, they were given to a completely different character in a completely different style, so they have to count as rejected alts. When it comes to Squirtle and Ivysaur, they don't have any rejected alts. I'd like to say unfortunately, considering that their selections definitely aren't the best. Same goes for Charizard, which I found kind of surprising as he actually stuck around for Smash 4, whereas the other components of the trainer got cut for that game. But even though Zard was given new colors here, they all stuck around for Ultimate, some of which in modified versions, but still the same basis nonetheless. Diddy Kong has stayed entirely the same over the years, but that isn't the case for Lucas up next. This guy surprisingly has costumes replaced upon his inclusion, despite there being no new game involving him after Mother 3. This dark green and orange striped outfit got cut for another green shirt with Boney's face on it, a much more important reference, and the pink and purple striped shirt got cut to feature one of a similar color scheme featuring the baby Dragos, which again I feel is an important reference considering the game that they're in. Next up we have Sonic, who's had a terrible selection of alts throughout the years, no doubt, but despite this, he's actually not had any removed. This is mind-boggling to me, as there are so many better possibilities out there. There was one modification modification to the red ring alt, slowly becoming more orange over the years, but this is still referencing the same thing, being the gloves that appear in special stages in Sonic 2. The fact that nothing's been outright cut is pretty ridiculous. King Dedede hasn't gotten any scrapped, but his green outfit based on an alternate looking Kirby Air Ride got a pretty big modification now. It features a yarn Waddle Dee and some light blue in it as well. Next up is Olimar, who unlike the last couple does have some rejected outfits. This mainly stems from the introduction of Alph into the selection in Smash 4. Due to this, a couple of Olimar's looks from Brawl had to go to make space, with these including the cool looking yellow and black outfit, and the green, white, and red outfit that follows it. The alt based on Louie was scrapped as well, but in a similar vein to Pokemon Trainer, it was brought back in a different form, with Alph now having a similar version. Lucario, Rob, and Toon Link have all remained the same over the years, but our next character certainly hasn't, with this being Wolf. What's interesting about Wolf is that despite only being in 2 Smash games, there's been a lot of change for him alt-wise, with a large reason for this being the character design change to base his look off of his default appearance in Star Fox Zero, rather than how he looks in Star Fox Command. First up on the cutting board is this cool looking red and purple Smash original costume, which was likely removed to split it into 2 separate outfit slots. The solo purple outfit was given as the new default to more closely resemble his look in Zero, and the red one now fully references Andrew from Assault. We'll be very generous and say that the black and green alts that follow this are modifications, because they have made some pretty decent changes since Brawl, but are still most likely based on the same thing. And I really debated on this light bluish one as well, because based on the research that I've done, it along with the blue one in Ultimate are both based on Wolf's Player 2 outfit in Star Fox Assault, so I guess it's not a scrapped outfit, but man, they don't look similar at all. One that there's no doubt in being rejected from the series, however, is this cool looking red and white outfit resembling the colors of the Wolfins in Star Fox 64. It's a nice reference to a vehicle, and a unique one too, because none of the alts that follow in Ultimate are based on one, nor share a similar color scheme. I really disagree with the decision to remove this one, but we gotta make space for Orange Wolf, I guess. Moving on to the Smash 4 characters, and villagers had no rejected outfits per se. Just 2 from Smash 4 that were given a skin tone change, with these being the purple male outfit and the yellow dressed female outfit. Mega Man, Wii Fit, and Rosalina all have no rejected outfits as well, outside of minor alterations, but our next character certainly isn't in that same vein. Little Mac, as I'm sure some of you may remember, actually had 16 alternate costumes in Smash 4, the most ever for a single character. Unless you count Pyra and Mithra as separate costumes, I guess. This is like Wario from Brawl, but on a whole other level. But which ones were cut and why? Well, to make a long story short, nearly all of the wireframe alts were cut since they are all based on regular versions of Little Mac anyways. Since the decision was made to reduce everyone to 8 outfits, it doesn't really make sense to have duplicates. Well, except in 2 instances. The standard and hooded wireframes were kept to at least maintain this reference in some way, and to compensate for this, the standard blue one was removed, likely due to blue already being featured as a color in other outfits, and the yellow outfit could have been cut for a similar reason, although I do feel that it had a stronger reference that could have justified its staying, this being to the Player 2 outfit in Punch-Out Wii. It was a more modern reference to the character, but hey, I guess when you're making this big of a cut to the costumes, there's bound to be a couple of nice ones removed eventually. For Greninja and Palutena, there was nothing notable done to their alts, but I can't say the same for Dark Pit. While he's had none that were outright rejected, there were a few notable modifications made. His Magnus alt no longer changes his hair color, his yellow alt no longer changes his skin tone, and the wing colors are different on the red one now, being changed to black. Pac-Man has unfortunately had no changes in this department, but Lucina has, with a modification being done to her Cordelia alt. Her hair is no longer as bold of a red, and the palette isn't as white. This isn't a scrapped alt, as it's definitely still based on Cordelia, and it kinda matches her a little bit closer, although it seems like elements of Severa are starting to get sprinkled in as well. When it comes to Robin, her red outfit now has blonde hair, which is a pretty notable modification from the original, but both are still based on the same thing, so I guess it's not entirely new. Now Shulk is a pretty interesting case, as all results have stayed the same inspiration-wise, but there are actually a bunch that have gained new touches, primarily in their hair, to become closer references to characters that they're based on in Xenoblade. I like these changes overall, as they made the palette swaps much more distinct, although I've got to admit that some look pretty strange on the character. But I mean, it's Shulk, so it's kinda fitting, right? It's been a while since the last real rejected costume though, as Bowser Jr. and Duck Hunt certainly aren't helping in this role. They have none, but our next character actually does, this being Ryu. All of his outfits from Smash 4 carry over into Ultimate, except for this orangish red one, which is based on Dan Hibiki from Street Fighter. It would go on to be replaced with his purple costume for Ultimate. But why was this? Well, I can think of 2 reasons. Number 1 is this already bears a big resemblance to his current orange outfit, and there isn't really a big reason to have 2, might as well get a new color in there. And this new color was a more modern reference to Street Fighter V. But second of all, the reddish shade of this outfit also makes it kinda similar to Ken's appearance. Since Ken is now a Neko fighter in Smash Ultimate, maybe they didn't feel it was as necessary to give Ryu that color anymore. And aside from slight modifications to Cloud, Corrin, and Bayonetta, that is the last full-on rejected outfit for the Smash 4 characters. So that has to be it, right? right? This was the last Smash game before Ultimate, so there can't be any more rejected outfits out there. Can there?
Bonus stage.
There are actually a few more unofficial, modified, or even outright rejected bonus outfits that were shown in a pre-release build of Smash Ultimate. There's a ton of minor ones, so I'll just try to cover the big details. Originally, the Ice Climber colors 5 to 8 were swapped, with Popo taking Nana's place, but this was changed for the final. 2 Ridley costumes were completely changed as well, with the first being this purple outfit, which was made lighter and given bright orange wings with armor to be more of a Meta Ridley inspiration in the final, and the other is this silver and green outfit, which again was given armor in the final release. I like the idea of referencing Meta Ridley, but man, with that second one in particular, I would have much preferred to see the original instead. It looks awesome. In the E3 release of Smash Ultimate, certain characters had a different skin tone, with these being Pokemon Trainer and 2 of the villagers, which were eventually changed. Piranha Plant was also shown at one point with the standard red color scheme in the green pot, which isn't present in the final game. There are probably countless others like this throughout history that haven't been made public that we probably won't find out for a long time, but one thing's for certain, there have been many rejected alts over the years, and many that I'm certainly glad were taken out. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.